Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vācāram pangam langhate girim. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dīnatātmam Paramanandam Madhavam. So last time we had completed the 8th chapter of the 4th canto, titled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home for Forest. And a quick recap of the chapter. It's one of the longer chapters with 82 verses. It began with the lineage of Adharma. And Maitreya Muni then says that if one hears it, then one gets steered towards piety. And the idea is that when one hears about Adharma, one knows what to avoid. And then it begins with the incident of Dhruva Maharaj. It begins with Suruchi chastising Dhruva when he's trying to get on the lap of his father, Maharaj Uttanpad, where Uttam was sitting. And hurt by the chastisement, Dhruva goes to his mother, Suniti. Suniti directs him to worship the Supreme Lord. So Dhruva heads out for the forest, and there he is intercepted by Narad Muni, who first, in order to test his determination, tries to dissuade him. But seeing that he is determined, then Narad Muni gives instruction to Dhruva to go to Madhuvan and perform Astanga Yoga, chant the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya mantra and worship the deity of the Lord. And Narad Muni then returns and pacifies Maharaj Uttanpad, and Uttanpad becomes completely renounced. And the last section of the chapter is the austerities of Dhruva and its effects, that he stops. First he eats once in 3 days, then 6 days, then 9 days. Then he breathes once in 12 days. And then because of his austerities, the whole universe begins to get affected. And then the Devas, out of concern, they approach the Lord. And then the Lord reassures them that he knows this is because of his devotee Dhruva. And he says, I will stop him from doing his austerity by going and personally meeting him. So that was the summary of the 8th chapter. We'll begin with the 9th chapter, which is titled Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home. So the Lord, after assuring the Devas and the Lokapalas that he will stop Dhruva from performing such severe austerities, then presents himself in front of Dhruva. And the chapter essentially is a conversation between Dhruva and the personality of Godhead. And it ends with the reception of, with Dhruva returning home. So basically the chapter is kind of divided into 2 parts. It has 67 verses. The first 36 is the conversation between Dhruva and Lord Vishnu, which is, as you can expect, deeply philosophical. And then the last part of the chapter, 37 to 67, the 31 verses, there are more narratives, that the reception that Dhruva gets, then the description of the palace, how it was decorated, and the specific reception that Uttanpad and the ministers and the citizens give to Dhruva. Okay, so we'll start with 491. Maitreya Vacha Tayevam Utsan Bhayaurukrame Kritavanama Paryayus Trivishtapam Saharsa Sirshapi Tato Garutmata Madhorvanam Didrikshaya yata. Sorry about that. Translation. The great sage Maitreya told Vidur, when the demigods were thus reassured by the personality of Godhead, they were freed from all fears. And after offering their obeisances, they returned to the heavenly planets. Then the Lord, who is non-different from the Sahasra Sirsa incarnation, got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to Vadhuvan forest to see his servant Dhruva. So far, Dhruva has been seeing the Lord in his meditation. And so towards the end of the previous chapter, we saw that Dhruva had entered into complete samadhi, that he held the Lord like a rock within his heart. And his mind was unwaveringly fixed. So without even a flicker, all the attention of Dhruva was focused on the Lord in his meditation. Now he is going to see the Lord face to face. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that Sahasra Sirsa refers to the personality of Godhead known as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Although the Lord appears as Shudaksha Vishnu, he has been described as Sahasra Sirsa Vishnu because he is not different from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. According to Srila Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, the Sahasra Sirsa personality of Godhead, who appeared at the time, was the incarnation known as Prishnigarbha. He created the planet known as Dhruvaloka for the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. So Sahasra Sirsa, as you know, means thousand-headed. One of the names of Krishna or Vishnu is Sahasra Sirsa. In the Pushashukta prayers, the very first verse starts with Sahasra Sirsa Purusha, Sahasra Aksha, Sahasra Pad. So glorifying the Lord as the one with 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 feet. Sabhume Vishwano Vitra Atitishta Dashangula. That one who exceeds the universe with the Sangula, the 10 fingers. So a poetic way of saying that he contains the entire universe within him. And Srila Prabhupada says that this refers to Garbhodaksha Vishnu, although the Lord who appeared was Shudaksha Vishnu. And Srila Rupa Goswami, he mentions that he is actually Prishnigarbha. So Prishnigarbha is one of the Vaibhav Leela avatars of Krishna, who appears once in a kalpa. So he appears once in a day of Brahma and is therefore also called as Kalpa Avatar. So at the time of Krishna's birth to Devaki, we see that when he first appears as a child and then he takes the four-armed form, then Vasudeva Krishna, then he begins to reassure Devaki and Vasudeva. And then he reminds them of their previous births. He says that in the Treta Yuga, to Devaki, he says that you were Prishni. And Vasudeva was a Prajapati by the name of Sutapa. And he says that during Swambhavu Manu time, but under the order of Brahma, to produce offsprings, both of you, Prishni and Sutapa, you performed severe austerities. And when the Lord was pleased when Lord Vishnu was pleased, then Krishna says, then I appeared before you and asked you to take a benediction. So he says that after, Krishna says, after 12,000 celestial years, in which you uninterruptedly performed austerities for me, you got my darshan. But because you still were attracted by sexual desires, you asked to have a child. But because you were attracted to me in devotion, you asked to have a child like me in qualities. And then he says that because there is no one like me in quality, I myself appeared as your son by the name of Krishnigarbha. And then, of course, he says in the next millennium, you appeared as Aditi and Kashyap, and I appeared as Vaman or Upendra. And in this yuga, you have appeared as Devaki and Vasudev, and I have appeared as Vasudev Krishna. So this is a little bit of introduction to Krishnigarbha, which actually comes, he was actually described by Krishna himself. And not much is known about the pastimes of Krishnigarbha, other than giving this benediction to Prishni and Sutapa. He appears in the 10th canto also, when Krishna is attacked by Putana. And the gopis, they, in an attempt to protect him, they chant the various names of Vishnu. And then they say, may Lord Krishnigarbha protect your intelligence. And another name of Krishnigarbha is also Dhruvapriya, because he is the object of love for Dhruva. Okay, just a little bit about Krishnigarbha. Let's move on to the second verse. Savaidhiya yoga vipaka tivrya hritpadam koshe spuritam tadit prabham tiroitam sahas eva pulakshaya mahi sthitam tadavastam dadrasha. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning, and in which Dhruva Maharaj, in his mature yogic process, was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus Dhruva was perturbed and his meditation broke. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally present, just as he had been seeing the Lord in his heart. So, Dhiya Yoga Vipak Tivrya. So this describes the intense meditation of Dhruva that is completely focused on the Lord. And how is the Lord described? That he was Spuritam. Spuritam means that he was manifested. It's not that he was imaginary or conceptual. Spuritam, he was actually there, Tadit Prabham, like a brilliant lightning. In Hrit Padma Kosha. So in the heart, in the lotus of the heart of Dhruva Maharaj. Now, all of a sudden, the Lord disappeared. So, Tirohitam Sahasa. And Dhruva became perturbed. We see the same situation happening in the first canto when we were reading about Narad Muni's previous life, that when he was performing his meditation, then the Lord appeared in his heart and then he disappeared. first canto, 6th chapter. The only difference is that in case of Narad, the Lord disappeared and appeared in the sound form, and basically told Narad that your bhakti is still not mature to see me, but you will see me later on. In Dhruva's case, the Lord actually appeared externally, Bahisthitam. That just like he was Spuritam, just like he was situated in his heart, Bahisthitam, he now was situated outside. So the Lord may withdraw one facility to offer a superior facility for his devotee. And seeing the Lord by the eyes is considered to be more advanced than meditating in the heart. Right? In the Brahma Samhita famous verse, Premanjana Churati Bhakti Vilochanena Santasa Deva Hideshu Vilokayanti Yamasham Sundaram Achintaya Guna Swarupam. With eyes that are smeared with love, one is able to see them. In the Damodar Ashtakam also, Kartik is coming, so we will be reciting them. Most of us will be reciting on a daily basis. So in the 4th verse, right, Sadame Manase Avirashtam Kimanye, right? So Satyavatra Muni, he first says that may you always be manifest in my heart, right? Sadame Manase Avirashtam Kim Anye. And then he says, Manase Avirashtam Alam Laksha Labhay. That may that beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart, right? Still emphasizing art. But then in the very next verse, he says, Grahanesh Mam Agyam Edi Akshi Dashya. That by showering your glance of mercy upon me, become visible to my eyes. Because as a devotee, he is not just satisfied with seeing the Lord in the heart. He wants to actually see the Lord. So that's why initially he says, you manifest in my heart. But then he says that, but if you are really merciful upon me, you manifest before my eyes. Now, a discussion might come here. Somebody might object, saying that why is seeing the Lord with the eyes considered superior when Vapu is generally considered inferior? Because Vapu means physical association. So seeing the Lord means that the Lord is right in front of you. But then so many times we say that Vani is superior to Vapu, that physical association is not the highest form. Or we say that Vipralamba is superior to Sambhoga, that separation is superior to association. And the reason is that in these situations, for devotees who actually can relish Vani more than Vapu, who can actually enjoy Vipralamba more than Sambhoga, the Lord, he manifests in a way that fully satisfies them. Because everything else is a means to an end. So when the devotees are at that stage, then there is no real difference between Vapu and Vani. There's no real difference between Sambhoga and Vipralamba. Because when they are in Vipralamba, then the Lord is manifesting before them in a way that is actually superior to the Lord actually being in front of them. And vice versa. Right? We have this case when Srimati Radharani, while she was sitting with Krishna, began to feel separation from him. So even though he was sitting right in front of him, she began to feel Vipralamba bhava. And she thought Krishna had left. So these are symptoms of very, very elevated devotees. But sadhakas, practicing devotees, or perfected devotees who are in a lower rasa, generally the understanding is that having personal association is better, seeing the Lord is better. Prabhupada says that since the Supreme Lord is absolute, the form within the heart of a devotee, the form in the temple, and the original form in Vaikuntha, Vrindavan Dham are all the same. They are non-different from one another. Okay. Next verse 3. Taddarshanenagad sadvasakshata avnadankam vinamaya dandava drikvayam parapsayan prapiban ivabrakas chumban ivashena bhuje iva. When Dhruva Maharaj saw his Lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisances and respect. He fell flat before him like a lord and became absorbed in love of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj in ecstasy looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. So we see 5 reactions from Dhruva Maharaj on seeing the Lord. So Agat Sadhavasa, that he was greatly confused. Then Shato Avandanta Angam Vinamaya Dandavat, that he was offering obeisances with his body by falling like a rod. Then Drigbhaya Prapashayam Pariban Iva, as if drinking the Lord with his eyes. Chumbam Iva Ashena, as if kissing the lotus feet with his mouth. Bhujair Iva Ashilshan, as if embracing the Lord with his arms. So in the last 3, the word Iva, as if, appears. So they're essentially describing the 3 Ashtasattvic bhavas that appear in the body of pure devotees in response to internal meditation. So Prabhupada says, naturally when Dhruva Maharaj personally saw the personality of Godhead face to face, he was very much agitated in awe and respect. And it appeared as if he were drinking the entire body of the Lord with his eyes. The devotee's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so intense that he wants to kiss the lotus feet of the Lord constantly. And he wants to touch the tips of the toes of the Lord and constantly embrace his lotus feet. All these features of Dhruva Maharaj's body's expression indicate that upon seeing the Lord face to face, he developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. So gives the 3 Ashtasattvika bhav. So they're not really practically Ashtasattvika in the sense they're not the symptomatic. Ashtasattvika is like crying or horripilation or shivering. So it's not mentioned that he's experiencing that. It's the mood that is being described over here. The devotees, when they are at that stage of the transcendental ecstasy, then how is it that they regard the Lord? That as if drinking the Lord with the eyes. So their eyes do not leave the Lord. They draw continuous sustenance and kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with the mouth, embracing the Lord with the arms. So this is what the devotees who are at the stage of Ashtasattvika, this is how they are relating to the Lord. Verse 4. Satam vivakshantam atadvidam hari gyatvasya sarvasya cha hridaye avastitah Kritanjalim Brahma Mayena Kambona Pasparas Balam Kripaya Kapole. Although Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy, he wanted to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in suitable language. But because he was inexperienced, he could not adjust himself immediately. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, could understand Dhruva Maharaj's awkward position. Out of his causeless mercy, he touched his conch shell to the forehead of Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands. So earlier Narad Muni had instructed Dhruva to worship the Lord with his mind, Astanga, with his body, which was performing deity worship, and by words, by chanting the mantra, the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya mantra that was given. So Dhruva Maharaj had, even though it is not indicated in the worship, the worship, the advancement of Dhruva Maharaj is very summarily described, that he was fasting, and then towards the end it says that he was standing on his toes. But the understanding is that Dhruva started his worship with his body by deity worship. Then it matured to chanting by mantra, meditation, and then finally into samadhi, into asthana yoga. Right. So it went through this 3 stages of body, tongue, and mind. By body, deity worship; by tongue, chanting the mantra, and then finally by mind, dhyana yoga. Now that the Lord has appeared, Dhruva is once again using his body. How? By offering obeisances to the Lord. And once again using his tongue. How? By glorifying the Lord. So this is actually a very wonderful verse that talks about the desires of a devotee and the reciprocation of the Lord. So Dhruva desired within his heart to glorify the Lord, right? Satam vivakshantam. But he was not able to do so because atadvidam harer, because he did not have the experience. Vishnu Chakravarti says that he had not been schooled in the Vedas and in the Sanskrit language to give appropriate prayers to the Lord. But then, Gyatasva sarvasya cha hriti avasthita. What is the Lord? He knows everything. Gyatasva sarvasya. Because hridaya avasthita. Because he is situated in everyone's heart. And for a devotee, he is very quick to reciprocate. As soon as the desire appeared in the heart of Dhruva, the Lord, Kapole Pasparasha. Kapole means forehead, and he touched it with the conch. And Kripiya, out of his causeless mercy. So Maitreya refers to Dhruva as Balam. Bal means as a child, to explain and justify his lack of ability to properly glorify the Lord. So expressions need expertise, while emotions need innocence. So Dhruva had all the emotions we saw in the previous verse. Right? We see that he had all the emotions, the 3 related to Ashtasatvika Bhav, wanting to drink the Lord with his eyes, kiss the lotus feet, embrace him. So he had all the emotions because of his innocence. But he lacked the expertise to express them. So Srila Prabhupada writes that the ability of a devotee to glorify or write about the Lord is the result of the mercy of the Lord from within. So this pastime with Dhruva Maharaj has a broader implication, that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote so many books, Bhakti Vinod Thakur wrote so many books, Srila Prabhupada wrote so many books, and his devotees, his disciples are writing. And Prabhupada would say that I am not writing. The Lord is writing through me. So this verse, it gives credence to those statements. They are not simply emotional statements. That if anybody has to credibly speak about the Lord, write about the Lord, then it is a symptom of the mercy of the Lord. The person should not become proud that I'm writing eloquently, or I'm speaking in a certain way. It's actually just the mercy of the Lord that is manifesting in reciprocation to the desires. Right? There are disciples who did not write. Does not mean that they didn't get the mercy of the Lord. But the Lord is reciprocating to the desire. When Dhruva desired to glorify the Lord reciprocated. In the Chatushloki Bhagavata Gita, the Lord says that Kathayantascha mam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha, right? That the devotees derive great pleasure in speaking about me. And in the very next verse, what does he say? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upiyanti. That I provide them the intelligence. And so when devotees are conversing about the Lord, when they're sharing their realizations, one should understand that it is a symptom of the mercy of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says that the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, touched his conscience to Dhruva's forehead, and he was transcendently inspired. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahmamaya, not Maya. It's a short name, Brahmamaya, because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the vibrations of the Vedas. So another name of the Vedas is Brahma. And Brahmamaya means not different from the Vedas. Prabhupada said, not an ordinary sound or vibration of the material world. Therefore, sound vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra, although present in the ordinary alphabet, should not be considered as mundane or material. Okay, next verse. Savaita deva pratipaditam giram devem parigyata paratma nirnaya tam bhakti bhavo bhayagrananda satvaram parishutaru shravasham dhruva kshati. At that time, Dhruva Maharaj became perfectly aware of the Vedic conclusion and understood the absolute truth and his relationship with all living entities. In accordance with the line of devotional service to the Supreme Lord, whose fame is widespread, Dhruva, who in the future would receive a planet which would never be annihilated, even during the time of dissolution, offered his deliberate and conclusive prayers. So this is what happened when the Lord touched the forehead of Dhruva with his conch. So he understood the difference between Jiva and the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada translates it in present continuous. So he says, understanding the difference between the Jiva and the Lord, Vishwanath Chakravarti translates it in the past tense, that he understood. And the difference between the two interpretations is that, as per Vishwanath Chakravarti, Dhruva had already understood the difference between the Lord and the Jiva and was already perfectly aware of the Vedic conclusions on account of the devotional service that he performed. Srila Prabhupada conveys that by the mercy of the Lord, this knowledge became perfectly revealed to Dhruva. And if you look at both the interpretations, they're actually equally valid, right? Because the fact that Dhruva had matured in his devotional service to the point that the Lord had personally come to give him his darshan, it means that he had complete knowledge. So, when the darshan of the Lord is prayojan, so perfect prayojan means that there is perfect abhidaya. And perfect abhidaya means that there is perfect sambandha. And essentially, this knowledge of the relationship between the Lord and the Jiva is sambandha. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti's explanation that he had already understood it can be considered to be valid. Now, at the same time, Maitreya, he is glorifying Dhruva as Nirnayatam Bhakti Bhava, that he was possessing only devotion as his goal, which means that he had not undertaken the formal study of the scriptures. So, Srila Prabhupada in his explanation or in the translation to the verse is conveying that the purity of bhakti is so strong that it can make up for anything. So, Dhruva is an example of attaining perfection by simply following the orders of the spiritual master. Like Srila Prabhupada said that no need to become a big jnani or to learn all the scriptures. In the 6th canto, Yudhishthira Maharaj makes this point, right? And that the Vedas are confusing. So what's the point in becoming an expert in the Vedas? You just become an expert in confusion. Best is to Majanayena Katha Supanta. That best is to follow the footsteps of the other devotees. So Srila Prabhupada's point is that the gyan of the Veda results in the vigyan of bhakti. The knowledge of the Veda results in the realization about the sweetness of the Lord. And because Dhruva was following the path of bhakti, he did not have to go through the process of Gyan. It essentially describes our state. That while we are studying the scriptures to some extent, but this is the age of Kali, we have limited access and limited understanding also, don't know Sanskrit. But our real claim to fame is the following the instructions of our spiritual master in our disciplic succession. That is what will give us the realizations in order to achieve the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada has a long purport on this, and he makes many important points. So first he talks about what is the conclusion of the Vedic knowledge. And he says that the conclusion is to understand the difference between the Jiva, the Paramatma, the individual soul, and the super soul. And he says the relationship is that the individual soul is forever a servant of the super soul. This is called Bhakti Bhava or Bhakti Yoga. Then, how does one get the knowledge? Prabhupada says that one cannot understand it simply by academic learning. The Vedas indicate that only one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord as well as the spiritual master is to such a person the Vedic conclusion is revealed. Right? This is the case of Dhruva Maharaj, that he did not undertake a formal study of the Vedas, But because of unflinching faith in Guru and Krishna, the conclusions of the Vedas have been revealed to him. So how does one, the next Prabhupada says is that, how does one get mercy of the Lord? So Prabhupada says that by patiently executing the order of the spiritual master, one will get the mercy of the Lord. And how does the mercy manifest? Prabhupada says that all the desires of the devotees are satisfied as a result of this mercy. So Dhruv wanted a kingdom greater than Brahma, and the Lord awarded him Dhruvaloka. And Dhruv, he wanted service to the Lord, and the Lord gave him pure devotion. So this is how the mercy manifests. And Prabhupada also talks about what should be the praise rendered to the Lord. So Prabhupada says that they should be in the mood of a devotee. So Prabhupada said, therefore it is said Bhakti Vaibhava. The only praise worth offering are those offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose reputation is spread far and wide. So this verse is important because I know of spiritual masters who ask their disciples to read this verse before taking initiation, or who will speak on this verse at the time of initiation, especially Prabhupada's purport, because this verse embodies the essence of the pastime of Dhruva. Even though lacking all qualifications, he attained perfection because of the mercy of the Lord. And the mercy of the Lord gave him all perfections, including bhakti, bhukti, mukti, everything you can imagine, it gave to him. Okay. Let me pause over here. The next verse is also a slightly involved verse. So I'll pause here and see if there's any discussion. If not, we can continue. Verse 6. Dhruva uvacha yuvanta pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeevayathyakhila shaktidhara swadam ramschahasta charan shravana tvagadi prana namo bhagavate purushasya tubhyam. Dhruva Maharaj said, my dear Lord, you are all powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ear, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So in 12 verses, from verse 6 to 17, Dhruva Maharaj very nicely glorifies the Lord. So these 12 verses are sometimes considered to be the 12 Adityas, the 12 sun gods that light the entire universe. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that these statements that are made by Dhruva after he received the knowledge from the Lord. So they are as good as the Lord speaking. So one should never doubt them in any way. So Dhruva starts with in these two verses, 6 and 7, he starts with glorifying the Lord as the master of the senses. So he addresses the Lord as one who empowers from within, the Paramatma. So by the touch of the conch of the Lord, Dhruva was empowered to understand and speak about the glories of the Lord. So he's appreciating the incomparable and the unconditional mercy of the Lord. And he offers respects with astonishment. These prayers are also recited before glorifying Krishna. These 12 verses, they're spoken to glorify Krishna. So, Dhruva says, Yonta Pravishya, that you have entered into me, and Sanjeevyanti. Sanjeevyanti means you have completely enlivened all my senses, especially Imam Vacham, Imam Parushpatam, especially my sense of speech. So the enlivenment that Dhruva is talking about is spiritual enlivenment. It's not that Dhruva was not able to speak and now he's able to speak, or because of the austerities he was not able to stand and now he's able to stand. He is talking about the senses being spiritually enlightened. So Prabhupada mentions that Dhruva is comparing himself to his prior mode of existence when all his senses were materially engrossed. So that's why he said that those senses were sleeping. Sleeping means that they were disconnected to their true objects, which is Krishna and his paraphernalia. So they were dormant to their actual function of serving the Lord. So that's why he says that they were dead. And now, having received the touch of the Lord, they are alive. So the Kriya and the Jnana Shakti of the Jiva are ultimately created, controlled, and bestowed by the Lord. So Dhruva glorifies the Lord as Akhila Shakti Dhara. Akhila Shakti Dhara means one who is possessing the universal energy by which all these senses are enlivened. In 15:15 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mata Smriti Jnanam Apohanamcha. From me comes remembrance, forgetfulness, knowledge. Now we see Dhruva, he is actually demonstrating that verse, especially in the context of remembrance. That by the touch of Krishna, he is remembering the true purpose of his senses. The knowledge of his existence has manifested. So the Lord is eternally present in everyone's heart, because in the embodied stage, the Paramatma is continually accompanying the Jiva. In case of Dhruva, while he was in the advanced stage of Samadhi, he was perceiving the Lord in his heart all along. But now with the touch of the Lord's conch, all his other senses. So in Samadhi, the mind is the main sense, Manashashta Indriyani, it's considered to be the sixth sense. The mind is the main sense that is engaging with the Lord. But now by the touch of the Lord, Dhruva is saying that all my senses have been awakened. So with his eyes, he wants to see the Lord. With his hands, he wants to serve the Lord. He wants to touch the lotus feet of the Lord. So wanting to use the senses for the purpose that they have been given, which is to serve the Lord. And initially he says that they were Pashuptam. So Shuptam, Prashuptam means that they were in deep sleep. So they were present but inactive. Dhruva is especially thanking the Lord for Mamvacham. Why? Because he is able to exercise it immediately to serve the Lord. So we see this mode of devotion, that everything that the devotee is grateful for, is that which he can use in the service of the Lord. Now, in addition to his speech, which he notes because he is using it currently in the service of the Lord, he says, Anyam Chahasta Charan Shravan Pugadini, that my hand, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Right? So, Maam Imam, that all these senses have now been spiritualized. So Dhruva concludes the verse by saying, Namo Bhagavate Purushasya Tubhyam. He was so far saying, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Right? When he was worshipping the Lord in his heart. Now that the Lord is in front of him, he says, Namo Bhagavate Purushasya Tubhyam. That I offer respects to the Supreme Lord. Verse 7. Ekas Tvameva Bhagavan Nidamatma Shakteya Maya Khirau Gunaya Mahadadashesham Shishtvan Vishasya Purushastadasad Guneshu Nane Vadarushu Vivavasuvad Vivasi. My Lord, you are the Supreme One, but by your different energies, you appear differently in the spiritual and material worlds. You create the total energy of the material world by your external potency. And after creation, you enter within the material world as the Supersoul. You are the Supreme Person. And through the temporary modes of material nature, you create varieties of manifestation. Just as fire entering into wood of different shapes burns brilliantly in different varieties. So this verse, it makes a distinction between the Lord as the super soul residing within devotees and non-devotees. So previous verse, Dhruva was glorifying the Lord as the super soul, enlivening his senses. So one may ask that if the super soul is present everywhere, then why isn't everyone's senses enlivened? So he had said that Swadhamana, previous verse, he had said that the internal potency of the Lord. In this verse, he speaks about Maya Akshaya, the external potency of the Lord. Right? So he is making this distinction between the devotees and the non-devotees. So in response to Dhruva thanking the Lord for enlivening the senses, the Lord may say that, why are you thanking me? The senses are enlivened by the presiding deities. So we saw in the second canto, when we were reading the Virat Purusha, third canto, 26th chapter, the description of the Virat Purush, that how different from the senses of the Virat Purush, different devas appeared who became the presiding deity of the senses. So Surya controls the eyes, the nose is controlled by the Ashwinis, Agni controls voice, Indra controls the hand. So Lord might say that these are all the devas who are controlling the senses. So why are you thanking me? So Dhruva, in response to that, says that, yes, these devas are controlling it, but they're empowered by you. So he says, Idam ekas tvameva, that all this entire creation, Idam ekam tvameva, is only constructed by you and only you, eva, only by you. So then the Lord may say that, if I am doing this for everyone, then why are you thanking me? So then Dhruva now notes that there is a difference. And he says that there is, in this universe, you enter by Maya Akhyayuru Gunyaya Mahadadya. So you enter by your external energy called Maya, which is comprised of Gunaya, the three modes. And then you create Mahatadi. So Mahatadi is, Dhruva is saying, beginning from the Mahatattva, Adi, all the other things that goes into the creation. And then in all varieties, you are the Ashesham, in all the varieties, you are present there as the super soul. So the Lord may say that there are so many different creations, from Lord Brahma to the Indragopa, from the divine to the demoniac. So are you saying that I am present in all of them? I am present in Brahma and I am present in the small insect. I am present in the divine and I am present in the demoniac. So Dhruva says that does not matter. All kinds of varieties are maintained only by you. And then he gives the analogy of the flames. So just like the shape of the wood on which the fire is burning gives the shape of the flames. So if it is a long wood, then the flames will be long. If the wood is in form of a sphere, the flames will be emanating in a spherical way. But even though the shape of the fire is different, its essential quality remains the same. So similarly, the material world may manifest in so many different varieties, but the Lord is present exactly the same as the super soul in all of them. So Vishwanath Chakravarti surprises the statement of Dhruva that Dhruva is saying that I know that as Antaryami, you enter into ordinary material objects of the material world and being neutral, bring them to life differently. The senses of your devotees, by your mercy, focus on you and become completely spiritual, since they're completely filled by your presence. The material senses of others, however, are filled with Maya alone. So this is the distinction that Dhruva is making, that this is why I am thanking you. That initially also my senses were working only because of you. As Paramatma, you were present and my senses were working. But now, because you have become merciful to me, my senses are working for the purpose that they are meant to be, which is serving you. Srila Prabhupada says that it is stated in this verse that material energy acts in a variety of material bodies, just as fire burns differently in different wood according to the size and quality of the wood. In case of the devotee, the same energy is transformed into spiritual energy. This is possible because energy is originally spiritual, not material. As it is stated, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta. This is a verse in Vishnu Puran. The original energy inspires a devotee, and thus he engages all his bodily limbs in the services of the Lord. The same energy as external energy engages the ordinary non-devotees in material activities. So Prabhupada is extending these realizations of Dhruva to the realizations of practicing devotees. That when they perform devotional service, then they should understand that it is because of the empowerment and the mercy of the Lord. So the same hands and legs, when they're being used for serving the Lord or his devotees, they are being used for their original purpose. Otherwise, Maya. Prabhupada said that is the difference between Maya and Swadham. For devotees, Swadham, for devotees, the Swadham acts. Whereas for the non-devotees, the Maya acts. So Prabhupada uses Swadham as Krishna's internal potency. So all very, very nice, deep verses spoken by Dhruva Maharaj. Verse 8. Tvadattaya vayuna yedam achasta vishvam shupta prabuddha ivanat bhavat prapannaha tasyapavargaya sharanam tava padmoolam vismartaya krita vida katham arthabandhu. O my master, Lord Brahma is fully surrendered unto you. In the beginning, you gave him knowledge, and thus he could see and understand the entire universe. Just as a person awakens from sleep and visualizes his immediate duties, you are the only shelter of all persons who desire liberation, and you are the friends of all who are distressed. How, therefore, can a learned person who has perfect knowledge ever forget you? So in verses 6 and 7 was the glorification of the empowerment of the Lord, and how the Lord empowers his devotees. In these two verses, 8 and 9, the Lord is glorified as the shelter of the devotees. So in the Bhagavad Gita 7:16, Krishna says, Artho Jigyasu Arpati Gyani, like 4 kinds of mixed devotees approach him: the distressed, inquisitive, then desiring material gains, and knowledge. This verse, it talks about 3 kinds of these 4 devotees. So Dhruva Maharaj said that Bhavat Prapanna. So Bhavat Prapanna is those who have surrendered to the Lord, such as Brahma or the 4 Kumaras. So these are essentially the Gyan Bhaktas. Then Dhruva Maharaj says Kritavida. Kritavida is those who are learned. So these are the Jigyasur, those who are in the pursuit of knowledge. And then Dhruva says you are Arthabandhu, that you are the friend of the distressed. So this is the Arthas, those who are approaching the Lord for relief from material distress. So Dhruva describes the mercy of the Lord to each of this type of aspiring devotees. So for the Bhavat Prapanna, like Brahma and the 4 Kumaras, Dhruva says that only by the knowledge given by you, they can see and understand the universe, just as a person who awakens from sleep and visualizes his dreams. And this is especially applicable to Lord Brahma, as is evidenced by his Govinda Maradi Purusham prayers. So that is why we see that in this verse, Srila Prabhupada, when Dhruva says Bhavat Prapanna, he actually translates Bhavat to Lord Brahma. And Vishwanath Chakravarti translates Bhavat to Jnanis like Brahma, and Tvadatya Vayunedyam Achasta Visham. By the knowledge given by the Lord, Brahma could see the universe. So Dhruva does not say that he created the universe, to emphasize that all this is actually done by the Lord. So Brahma's seeing is like seeing the actions done by someone else, which is another way of saying that he is the secondary creator. So this means that those who are seeking knowledge obtain this knowledge when they surrender to the Lord, Prapanna. Then the second kind is Kritvida. Kritvida is those who are inquisitive about apavargya, those who are inquisitive about liberation. And Dhruva says the Lord gives them mercy by Sharanam Tav Padamulam, that he gives them shelter of his lotus feet. And finally, he speaks about Arthabandha. Arthabandha is those who are distressed, and Dhruva says you are the friend of the distressed. So the distressed, they go to you for relief. Dhruva does not speak about the fourth category, the Artharthi. Artharthi are those who approach the Lord desiring material wealth. So he himself is in that category. And he's especially hard on himself. In the next verse, he will criticize himself very strongly. And this is the mood of, it's like when a person is, if a person is criticizing others, then it is negative. But if a person is criticizing himself, he has a lot more latitude to criticize. He can be more severe, he can be more probing, because the criticism is directed towards himself. So in this, Dhruva is not directly criticizing, but he's indicating their destination as how the Lord responds. That to the Bhavat Prapanna, he gives them the knowledge by which they can come. To the Kritvida, he gives them liberation, apavargya. And for the Artha, he becomes the Bandha, he becomes the friend. But for those who are Artharthi like him, Dhruva will be more critical. And of course, the difference between Artho and Artharthi is that the Artho is seeking relief from material distress. The Artharthi does not really have any distress, but he simply wants more. And even though Dhruva Maharaj can be considered to be in some state of material distress, but he is more in the category of Artharthi because he was already a prince and very opulent, and he just wanted more. So he's considered more in the category of Artharthi. So conclusion is, of course, that the Lord is the shelter for all. We should never be forgetting. So that's why Dhruva says that Katham Vismarayate. Katham Vismarate means that who will ever forget you? Srila Prabhupada says that saintly people like Sanak, Sanatan, and Lord Brahma are able to see the entire universe by the mercy of the Lord. So here Srila Prabhupada is actually incorporating Vishwanath Chakravarti's translation in the purport. The example given that a person may apparently abstain from sleep all day, but as long as he is not spiritually enlightened, he is actually asleep. He must sleep at night and perform his duties in the daytime, but as long as he does not come to the platform of working in spiritual engaged enlightenment, he is considered to be always sleeping. This is actually a description of Dhruva's thanking the Lord for waking his senses. Okay, let's move on to the next verse, verse 9. Nunam vimushta matayastav mayayate ye tvam bhavapyaya vimokshanam manhetu archanti kalpak taru kuna papo bhogyam ichanti yat sparshajam niraye pinanam. Persons who worship you simply for the sense gratification of this bag of sin are certainly influenced by your illusory energy. In spite of having you, who are like a desire tree and the cause of liberation from birth and death, foolish persons such as me desire benediction from you for sense gratification, which is available even for those who live in hellish conditions. So here Dhruva is talking about the Artharthis, the fourth kind of devotees. And he is strongly criticizing because he is saying, I am like that. So in the previous verse, the other three kinds of devotees were mentioned, and Dhruva actually glorified them. That for whatever reason they are taking shelter of the Lord to achieve the results. And even the distressed says that you're a friend to them. The fourth, however, is being strongly criticized. So in the translation, where it is said that you are like a desire tree and the cause of liberation from birth and death, foolish persons such as me desire benediction from you for sense gratification, which is available for those. So Prabhupada actually, so it does not appear in the word to word. Prabhupada actually interpolates it contextually because he's capturing the mood of Dhruva Maharaj. That essentially this verse is directed by Dhruva Maharaj to himself. So even though it's not in the word to word, he actually puts it over there for the sake of completeness. So why are they being criticized by Dhruva? Because Archanti, they worship the Lord who can give freedom, vimokshanam, from bhavapaya. Bhavapaya means from birth and death, but they worship for anyahetu, for something else, or for trifling results. Now, what are these trifling results? Nirnam. Nirnam means that they are available to those who are living in hellish conditions. So those who live in hellish conditions are understood to be deprived of the mercy of the Lord. So this means that these pleasures are available to them, even to those who do not avail themselves of the mercy of the Lord. Because they approach the Lord with material desires, then not very intelligent. Niraya also means that their intelligence is lower than that of the animals. So he says that nunante vimushtamatiyas. That nunante means certainly. Vimushtamatiyas means that certainly that they have lost their intelligence. That is why they are acting in this way. Tavamaya. Because of your illusory energy. So the Lord can say at this point that, so this is my fault, that these people who are criticizing are acting in this way. So Dhruva says, no. He says, you are kalpakataru, that you are a desire tree. The nature of a desire tree is that it reciprocates to the desires of those who approach it. Somebody approaches the desire tree for poison, the desire tree will give poison. Somebody approaches for nectar, you will give nectar. So the problem is not with you, the problem is with them. So he says, Icchanti upabhogayam, that they approach you with a desire for bhogayam, for enjoyment of what? Kunak. So kunak means dead body. Dead body is another way of saying the material body, sparshajam, derived from the sense perception. So essentially Dhruva is as Srila Prabhupada says, essentially is talking about himself. That the Lord who can offer the highest of the benediction when he is approached for material gains, because of Icchanti Upabhogyam, because of Icchanti Upabhogyam is a clear sign of Vimustamattis. It is a clear sign of people who have Vimushta, completely lost all their intelligence. So Prabhupada says, only due to gross lack of knowledge does one worship the Lord for material profit or for sense gratification. The Lord is like a desire tree. Anyone can have whatever he desires from the Lord. Yathamam prapadyanti. Okay, moving on, verse 10. Ya nivritistano vritam tava pad padma dhyanad bhavajjana katha shravanena vasayat sa brahmani swa mahimanyapinat mahabhuta kim tuantakashi lulitat pathat vimana. My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from pure devotees is so unlimited that it is far beyond the stage of Brahman, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. Since Brahman is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, then what to speak of the temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to the heavenly planets, which is ended by the separating sword of time. Although one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down in due course of time. So, in the previous 4 verses, Dhruva has glorified the Lord. Right? In the first 2 verses, he glorified the mercy of the Lord. And then in the next 2 verses, he glorifies the reciprocation of the Lord to both materialist and to the materialist and the devotees. Now in 3 verses, Dhruva will glorify Bhakti and Vaishnava Sangha. So the Lord is never alone. He's always with his devotees, with his dham, with his associates. So no glorification of the Lord is complete without the glorification of his devotees, without the glorification of Bhakti. So in this verse, Dhruva speaks about 3 kinds of happiness. So one of the themes that we will see, and maybe next or next to next class I'll summarize, is this theme of 3. We see the 3 theme coming again and again. Dhruva will glorify the Lord as the Lord of threes. Here he talks about the 3 kinds of happiness. Dhruva receives 3 instructions from Suniti, receives 3 instructions from Narad. He receives 3 chastisement from Suruchi. So this theme of threes is very interesting to observe here. So here Dhruva is speaking about the 3 kinds of happiness. So he says the nivriti, the happiness that is derived from Tava Pad Padma Dhyanad, meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, and Katha Shravanena. Katha Shravanena is listening to your pastimes, Bhavajjana, in the association or from your devotees. That is one kind of happiness that he talks about. Second that he talks about is Brahmani, is the impersonal Brahman, Swamahimanya, where you are in your opulence, in your magnificence, Swamahimanya. And he considers this as second tier because Apinath Mahabhuta. Because he says, my Lord, that bliss of Krishna Katha is not experienced here. The third kind of happiness is Lulitat Antakasi. That kind of happiness that is destroyed by death and ends in, he says, Patatam Vimanat. So Viman means airplanes. And Viman also means, Viman essentially means that which is in the air. So heavenly planets are also considered to be Viman. So Vimanam Patatam means falling down from the heavenly planets. Right? Where Krishna says that Kshinna Punya Mantya Loka Vishanti. Chapter 9, he says that when Punya becomes Shin, then you fall down. So this is the third kind of material happiness, which at its apex, at its pinnacle, will result in elevation to the heavenly kingdoms, but in all cases is destroyed. So Dhruva says, he says, Kim tu. He uses the Kemutyanya, he says to, he used to say that if the pleasure of merging in the Brahman is negligible in front of Krishna Katha, then what to speak about this material happiness, which is temporary in nature. Right? So essentially he's comparing Vishananda, Brahmananda, and Paramananda. So Vishananda is the pleasure in Vishaya, material senses, material world. Brahmananda is the pleasure in Brahma, and Paramananda is the pleasure is the supreme pleasure in the Lord. So Vishwanath in his commentary, he speaks a little bit about Brahman actually. He says that Dhruva is saying to the Lord, you are great, but the Brahman is the state of your greatness. It is only the quality of your pervading everywhere. And then he quotes 8:24-38 Bhagavatam, where Lord Matsya is saying to Maharaj Satyavrata that Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Param Brahmeti Shaktitam. That Brahman is my greatness. So Brahman is therefore understood to be the great aspect of Bhagavan, or the opulent aspect of Brahman, but nevertheless a partial realization. Srila Prabhupada says that Dhruva Maharaj appreciated that the results of devotional service are far more valuable than merging into the absolute or being elevated to the heavenly planets. So essentially Dhruva is saying that the bliss that is available in bhakti is not available in Brahman realization, and certainly not in material happiness. So since in the other forms there are some desires to experience peace or enjoy, these statements are basically showing the desireless state of bhakti. So because so these are the two postulates made by Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad, that through these statements, Dhruva is establishing two characteristics of bhakti. One, that it is desireless, and second, that it is self-manifesting. So self-manifesting, he explains that because something superior cannot manifest in something inferior, so one cannot attain bhakti through punya, through pious activities, through Brahman meditation, through Gyan. So when you talk about material elevation or liberation to the Brahman, you pretty much cover everything other than bhakti. You cover karma, Gyan, Dhyan, other than bhakti. So establishing that bhakti is superior and something superior cannot appear in something inferior, Dhruva, at least at this point, is in a subtle way indicating that bhakti is self-manifesting and it is free of all material desires. The other point that is being made is that because bhakti grows and is experienced in the association of devotees, the mercy of the devotee as the cause and the catalyst for bhakti is also shown. So both the aspects of bhakti are given. That bhakti does not carry in it the desires from the lower forms. Bhakti is self-manifesting. And the other part is that bhakti does depend upon the mercy and the association of devotees. That point gets expanded in the next verse, which we will discuss next on Wednesday. So essentially, Dhruva Maharaj here is, after having glorified the Lord, he is glorified bhakti and bhaktas. And then, of course, he will render personal praise to the Lord. So generally, the structure of the praise is always such that they initially acknowledge the position of the Lord, then they acknowledge the mercy of the Lord, and then the praise become more personal. So I'll pause here and see if you have any comments or discussion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One question, Prabhuji. Here, many thoughts are actually coming in, like I need little guidance here. That you mentioned that Lord Dhruva is mentioning Lord as Kalpataru. For whatever we approach, one would get that. But with Dhruva's case, he approached for material desire, but he got much more than what actually he anticipated, and he was purified too. So is it the presence of Guru, spiritual master, that changed his fate, or if without Guru, he will be only getting, because there are so many people, we go to Tirupati, worship Lord for material desires. So what special ingredient that specifically benefited Dhruva, and the worship that without Guru, those people who approach Krishna, is that also permanent? Because for material desires, people go, they bow down to the Lord at the temple. So is there, whatever bhakti they are doing with improper knowledge, still that is permanent? Can you please expand a bit?
So first part, yes, I think the assumption you made is accurate, that the reason Dhruva got access to the special mercy of the Lord was because of his faith in his spiritual master. Right? So that is why Dhruva's pastime is often used to demonstrate the potency of following the instructions of the Lord, of the Guru, even if you don't fully understand them. Dhruva thought that he was praying to get a kingdom that he desired, but nevertheless, he was very scrupulously following the instructions of Narada. In the initial conversation, he submits to Narada's authority. Like, he does not say that when he glorifies Narada, he does not say that you give me a kingdom, or he does not say that take care of Utanpat for me, right? He says that you tell me a bona fide process that I can follow and then get the results. Narada Muni gives him the process, he follows, but he gets more than what he bargains because of the fortuitous position of Narada Muni. That Narada Muni was a pure devotee, and Dhruva's fortuitous position, that he was scrupulously following the instructions of a pure devotee. Right? It's like our morning prayers, right? When we pray to Tulsi Devi. So we pray to Tulsi Devi that you make us a resident of Vrindavan. Correct. We have no right to pray for that. But then we say that because we are taking shelter of you and you are perfect, you can deliver this to us. So all kinds of imperfections are removed in the shelter of perfection. Second part of the question, that those who worship the Lord with mixed intentions. Krishna speaks about them in the 7th chapter. He says that undoubtedly they are all great souls. Why does Krishna say they're great souls? In Krishna's eyes, those who are taken to the path of devotion are great souls. Okay. Of course, he says those who are in knowledge, they're especially dear to me. So yes, he has special affection for them. But others also, he says that they're all great souls. So if you step back and look at it, out of billions and billions of people, how many people are going to Tirupati? It's a very small handful, right? They're making that endeavor. So they have faith. They have faith in the Lord. They may be desiring material. They may be going transactionally. That I will put X number of rupees, I will get so many more rupees in return. That's all fine. But where are they reposing their faith? In the Lord. Right? Isn't that glorious? In Lord's eyes, it is glorious. Now, not the standard for perfection, but definitely a step in that direction. So yes, any obeisances they give, any charity that they give, anything that they give, the effect of bhakti is irrevocable. Right? Even though it's Mishra Bhakti, but it's nevertheless Bhakti. And the nature of Bhakti is that it is irrevocable. It stays forever. It may give them sukriti. In other lives, they may be born in the house of a devotee. They may be naturally inclined. They may get the shelter or mercy of a devotee. So that's how Vishnu Chakravarti explains Madhurika Damani. That's how all these things manifest.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Even they are getting more than what they are asking. Even if they ask a little money, the money may be over, but still Lord's mercy is continuing on them.
Right.
So nice to hear, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I just want to make a comment on the analogy that Mr. Prabhupada made about the Viman. He said that the Viman is like the heavenly planet is in the air, and then it falls down. Just like an aircraft, when it runs out of fuel, it falls down.
Your voice is actually breaking up, Prabhu. I could not follow.
No, what I'm saying, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
The word Viman in one of the verse, I think it's verse 10, where we say that the Viman is just like the heavenly planet is like in the air. And Prabhupada made an analogy with the airplane. He said, just like the airplane is in the air, when it ran out of fuel, it fell down. I mean, when it ran out of whatever pious activity we have done,
Yeah.
you know, when the pious activity is over, then we fell down again.
Yeah.
The fuel.
That's the fuel that is keeping the souls in the heavenly kingdoms. When punyakshinyam, then down they fall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you. Manchakalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.